All right, let's see what happened with the swarm. Yeah, do you want to talk about what's going on here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of along the lines of the auto research talk that we had. Similarly, we have a swarm. Again, it's fully trust-based, so we just trusted that you guys connected your agents here. And we're not going to monetize the output, and we would have no way to give you any of the rewards if we did. But what you're seeing on the screen is, in this routes panel, are the 24 vehicle routing instances that we were benchmarking the algorithms on. Stephen, could you just click through some of those, just so, the one below?
Oh, the one below.
Yeah. So this is the solutions that the best algorithm found so far gave to the vehicle routing problems. The center is like the depot, the depot, and the dots are different customers who have different time windows where they need to get their delivery in between, and the different colored routes are particular vehicles delivering. Then on the bottom right, you see the leaderboard, which is all the different agents that have contributed. Overall, at the top, you can see we had 16 different agents that ran 150 experiments. So that means 150 times 24. For an algorithm, the score of the algorithm was the average of the score over each of the instances. The score over an instance is just the total length of all the routes that the vehicles traveled. And you can see that this is the best algorithm found so far. Silvanova found it, and it was just under 3% worse than the best known solution from the literature. So these 24 instances are known in the literature, and we knew the optimal solution for them. And just before you ask, the agents didn't get to see exactly what the optimal solution was on each instance, but they did know what the average was because we didn't figure out how to hide it yet. A few other things. You might see a stagnation counter next to each agent. So basically how this worked was each agent ran its own branch, and it only queried the swarm for inspiration once it hadn't improved for 2 iterations. And then it queried the swarm and got a random sample and used that for inspiration. On the tab above, you see the code diversity. So this is like how much of the code is shared between the agents. So once it looks for inspiration, it might copy like part of the code, and that basically shows like how diverse all the algorithms were. And then the benchmark progress at the top is just how tracking the score of the best known algorithm over time. And that minus 28% on the top is how much we improved from the initial seed solution, which was a very basic algorithm.
Do you want to go into the ideas page?
Oh yeah, this we took from auto research at home, which was just the 20 top scores achieved over all the benchmarks that were submitted, and we got the LLM to kind of summarize what it was doing in each algorithm. So the ideas that it used. Yeah. Missed anything else?
Now, I guess you could see like whatever your name of your agent was and see how it did. So if you're like interested to know if your agent was the best.
This is very much like, not really scientific, and more of just an experience. The interesting part would be running this on like a very large scale, in a kind of way where we can actually get some economic value out of what we output. It's not just throw loads of compute at a problem and get good results, because that's obviously going to happen.
Yeah, I think part of, for me, the reason it was interesting to try this is because actually the amount of tokens that went into this, or the value of the tokens, is quite a lot if people are using their Claude plans, like their your Max plan or whatever. Like if you just try and do this like with the API, like it'll be like $10,000. So I think it's interesting to do things like this and see what's possible with the diversity of other agents contributing.
I really like this, the idea panel. No? I think that the next iteration would be to see genetic trees of like, okay, combining these ideas, and trying to find population based on idea base. And the reason for that is human can read ideas,
Yeah.
right? They, instead of having just a solution like this works.
We're good friends with one of the leading experts in vehicle routing called Thibaut Vidal. Works on this stuff all the time because the like SOTA algorithms. So he was actually said he would look at the algorithms generated afterwards and give some feedback on them. And so maybe the ideas page will be useful for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really an open question what you can do with just even 10, I guess it's 16 clods or maybe more than clods working together. Like the models are really incredible right now. And I think for any of these questions, like I would just kind of encourage people, think of like the hardest possible thing you can think of and throw a Claude at that. Because it's really, you never know what's gonna happen. I mean, that was how I ended up pursuing this whole line of thought. I was just like, I wonder if Claude can do this. And it turned out it could. And so, yeah, I would really encourage you to just be ambitious with what you're trying to do with these agents.
Yeah, I think something else cool is if you go back to the main page. So back to the dashboard, yeah, nice. You can kind of see the diagonal line on the grid is meant to be, how much like unique code each agent has. So I think one of the...
Sorry, I was trying to zoom on this.
Oh yeah, yeah, nice. One of the issues with some of these agents is they can like condense into like one type of algorithm and they like stagnate. So the way we set it up was so that each agent was working on their own until they got stuck and then they just look for inspiration randomly from another agent. This kind of keeps some diversity in. It was a slightly different technique than maybe auto research had done. So it's just an interesting approach to try and keep more diversity. And it seemed to work pretty well because those high numbers along the diagonal mean they're pretty unique.
Have you run this before? This is the first time.
Well, but there were test runs, but never with so many people. I think, what was the most you had?
Like 2 and then 1 non-max subscription that ran out after like 3 iterations.
Yeah, go for it.
Have you tried or do you have any intuition around how, is it like, do the agents kind of like all end up behaving kind of similarly, or do you get like a lot of different results if you have everyone running Claude Code versus like someone using Qwen and someone using Codex? And
Yeah, probably diversity would be good in terms of the language model, but we didn't. I assume everyone was using Claude.
It would also be good, as you said before, like Terence Towers asking for that thing, like it give an AI mathematician or whatever it is some kind of context. And what they were asking for was basically strategies for how to unstick yourself when you get stuck. And if everybody has their own ones of those, they write down their mathematician, of course that's going to be a lot of biodiversity, but that's basically uncodified know-how that your mathematicians tend to have sort of personal strategies which they deploy habitually. Mm-hmm. That would be a good way to get diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to look at what happened, really, because we've never done it with so many agents before. And it's possible the infrastructure was set up to encourage diversity, and so we will have to take a look and see what happened. But I think it is possible, even within one coding model, to get diversity.
It's interesting also in terms of resources. So there is some economics, and there is some human capital that is needs. And it's like, what was the Pareto on that? Like, how much resources to put in terms of compute, and how much results can you expect from that? And how you can compare it as a ROI on all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this gets into the different frameworks that were presented, like the Sky Discover and the evolutionary framework, and these are kind of, seem like attempts. I think that these are different attempts to be on different places in the pre-frontier. So if you can operate with open weight models, this is going to be pretty cheap. But if you're using, like, as I said, like 16 Claude's API, it's a lot of money. And so they're definitely, for real applications, you'll have to figure out, people have to figure out how to do this more economically. But on the other hand, you could go in the other direction and say, you know, this is a really important problem, right? You know, we're curing cancer, whatever. Like, let's just throw a whole data center at it. I mean, that's something that happens and has happened at these frontier labs for many situations. So that's completely possible. So I think any point along the frontier is sort of going to be novel and interesting.
Yeah, maybe I could just say one more thing on the economics aspect. If you had the talk earlier, John's talk about the economics of all this, I guess one kind of dream of the innovation game would be to have something like this, where you have a group of people all collaborating, creating an algorithm, and then submitting it to that protocol, and you can be kind of instantly rewarded for that. And so it's like your output can be monetized instantly, and then somehow redistributing the funds to the participants. And this would be a kind of like algorithm mining, similar to how people mine Bitcoin, which might be a bit kind of like sci-fi and out there, but would be a cool scenario to reach.
Especially for all the idle compute in big data centers.
Yeah.
Like, there is a lot of compute in data centers that's idle because nobody purchased the window.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, you could imagine with certainly with the open weight models, you could just have things going all the time, right? I mean, if you could actually find a way to do something useful, like through this process, which I think is very conceivable, yeah, you could have enormous amounts of computes going to this. I mean, think of all the compute, and John was saying, think of all the compute that's gone into Bitcoin, right? Unbelievable amount. So, you know, there's a huge amount of room for possibilities here. Right, any last comments or questions for the group? Yeah, go for it.
I'll make a comment actually. In certain simulations, once you went through multiple steps of Monte Carlo simulation, it has limitations. You're improving accuracy and so on. So if you try more times, you will get more information out. The data is the way it is. Especially that I talk to many people try to do more LLM, try to using normal AI to generate a single result and agree. For the data, it's very common, you can do it. But one of the horror cases is basically just randomly guessing what a Monte Carlo is going on. So having multiple high iteration step does not do it by too much. So it's like sampling frequency.
I see that. No, that makes sense. Okay, well let's wrap up there. And thanks everyone for coming. And